Hey everyone, it's Tori and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. For today's video, I am super excited to be setting up my bullet journal for 2025 with you all. I got this gorgeous A5 size journal from Archer and Olive, and I am an affiliate with them, so if you want to save some money and support my channel, you can use code CMCG10 for 10% off your order at archerandolive.com. They drop a lot of new journal designs and have actually been bringing back old favorites a lot recently, so even if this one isn't currently available, keep an eye on their website. They're my favorite journals of all time. This journal has 160 GSM bright white dot grid paper, along with ribbon bookmarks, an elastic enclosure, a pen loop, and even a pocket in the back to store leftover stickers, ephemera, or anything important that you want to carry around in your journal. So after taking a look at the features of this journal, let's get into the supplies I'll be using to set up my yearly spreads of 2025. First of all, I'll be using my Tombow dual brush pens, which are staples for me, especially this green, which is number 312. I've been using it in so many setups, but it matches my cover perfectly, so I brought it into this one as well. I'll also be outlining and writing with a variety of Sakura Pigma micron nib sizes, like 005, 01, and 05. I can't have a journal setup without my trusty alphabet stamps, and you can find this set on Amazon. This is what I'll be using for the headers throughout this setup. And of course, my Archer and Olive stencil, which will be helping me keep my lines and borders straight on every single spread in this journal. All of my supplies will be linked down below as usual, and now it's time to hop into my first spread of my bullet journal setup, which is my name page. I don't know if you can tell with the 4x speed, but I was shaking while filming this. Starting a new journal is always so nerve-wracking, and I know that bullet journalists talk about the name page being the most stressful part of a new setup because it's the first pen-to-paper moment, if you will, in a new journal. But it's literally for no reason, like stressful for no reason at all. Like all you have to do is write your name, or in my case, stamp my name, because for some reason stamping out my name is less anxiety-provoking than trying to letter it nicely with like a fine liner or calligraphy pen. When you're setting up your journal for the new year, don't let this page intimidate you. Because honestly, how often are you turning back to this? Unless I guess if you're keeping a list or a tool that you constantly are referring back to on this spread, I guess then it'd make this page more important, but I'm just doodling a piece of paper taped around this pre-designed name section, and also a little fern at the bottom of the page, so it literally has no business making me this anxious, but here we are. In all seriousness though, I actually do really like how this page turned out, I'm happy to say. I kept the color palette pretty minimal, as I usually do for my beginning of year spreads, but I think the green with the gray and tan is really calming and also really aesthetic. So after doodling some sparkles around my name, we're moving on to my official cover page of 2025. I know other bullet journalists have a more creative way of dealing with this weird first page that's stuck really close to the binding, like turning it into a pocket or putting their bullet journal key on it or something. I just glue tape it together and forget it exists. I also just like to have the full dot grid spread as my first official page in a journal, but that's just personal preference. So at least the back of this page is not going to waste. For my yearly spreads theme, if you will, I was heavily inspired by this photo I found on Pinterest, and it was posted by the account Sammy_bujo. Whenever I'm struggling to come up with a theme, or even have an idea for a theme but don't know how to execute it, Pinterest is always a go-to journal inspiration for me. I've seen the pegboard theme done a bazillion times across social media platforms, but I'm really surprised I've never done it myself, so I wanted to give it a try for 2025, and I'm really glad I did. I feel like this theme is popular for a reason, and it just comes out so cute every time. This cover spread is probably my favorite of this setup, maybe next to my vision board, which you'll see later on in this video, but it's so simple in a way that's still really nice to look at. I used my N79 gray Tombow dual brush pen with the bullet tip side to do the outlines of the pegboard background, and I didn't use a ruler for this mainly because my Tombows tend to leave like a thick ink trail down the end of the ruler that I constantly have to wipe off with a paper towel or tissue, and I didn't really want to deal with that for multiple spreads in this setup. But I think the gray is light enough that the lines don't look overly wonky from freehanding. I also outlined some clipped up notebook paper on the left and other little papers on the right of the spread that will eventually say Hello 2025. And just like my inspiration photo, I drew some big ferns around the spread and colored it in with my holly green Tombow dual brush pen. My 2025 hand lettering was outlined with my black Tombow to make it pop a little bit more than just leaving it with the fine liner. And I never do quote pages anymore, but I came across this quote again on Pinterest, and it said, "You are the most important project you will ever work on." And as someone who constantly has different projects going on, whether it's like journal setups, scrapbooking, collaging, even crocheting now, I think it's important to remember to put myself first. I don't know, I just thought it was a great beginning of year quote, and I needed to add it right in the beginning of my journal as a constant reminder. With my cover and quote page complete, it's time to move on to some functional spreads, starting with my future log. My future log is a place to write events or important things that are going on each month, and I've come back to this layout again and again. I can't even remember where I got the layout idea originally at this point, but I think it might have been Ray's Daily Page on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. I know she does this layout as well, and I love her journal setups. But basically, I have a mini calendar for each month of the year with numbers for each day down the left side of each column. And the column is where I'll write the birthday, event, appointment, whatever's going on that day, next to the corresponding number. I also like to highlight the weekends just for a better visual of what each month looks like. My future log is super simple, but I don't like to add any other decorations to this spread because it takes away from the functionality. I did January through June on camera for you, but July and December were set up off camera in the exact same layout, and that is my future log complete. We're moving over to my 2025 goals spread. This is actually super different than how I typically set up my yearly goals in prior journals, but I wanted to bring that pegboard layout back and have little clipped up papers with headers for each section of goals that I want to focus on for this year. I already stamped in the headers, which you'll see on other spreads as well, just as a time saver, and those headers are finance, read, crochet, YouTube, journal, and my word of the year will be at the bottom of the spread. I'm going to get more into my 2025 goals in my New Year reset video, which I plan to post in early January, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on any of my upcoming content. I plan to post my monthly bullet journal setups of this journal, as well as my reading journal, which will make its debut on my channel next weekend, so keep an eye out for that. I'm so excited to post more for you guys in 2025. But getting back to how my goals spread is turning out, I took my really light warm gray Tombow in N89 to trace over the lines in just a couple of the boxes to make it look like notebook paper, and I like the look of only doing that to a couple of them and leaving the others blank to give the spread a little bit of visual interest. I also made some papers on this pegboard folded up in the corners, and others with a ripped out notepad paper look to them. I like the variety that it gives to this page. The last thing I'm filling out in my goal spread for this video is my word of the year, which is routine. I recently moved into a new apartment at the end of November, so I'm going to spend this year getting settled into my new routine in a new space. With my 2025 goals spread complete, we're moving on to what I like to call my adulting trackers. So over on the left, I already have what is basically just a year at a glance with all the mini calendars from January through December. And this will actually be where I'm going to mark what day each of my bills are due, corresponding with my key that's over on the right underneath the penciled in box titled appointments. Basically, for each bill I have due, I'm going to mark it with a dot pen in a specific color. So like Wi-Fi could be blue, electricity could be yellow, rent could be green, etc. And for example, my rent is due on the 1st of every month, so I will just mark a green dot on the number 1 in each calendar to signal to myself that my rent check is due that day. I meant to color code my bills key with dot pens in this video, but I have new ones being sent to me from Ohuhu that I want to use for this, but they just didn't get to me in time of me filming this, so I'll be filling out the key in my New Year Reset video using those new dot pens. If you've seen my bullet journal setups in the past, then you probably are familiar with my appointments and car sections of my adulting spread, and this is just where I'll write down when I last had appointments with my doctor, dentist, gynecologist, eye doctor, hairdresser, and nail tech, as well as my last emissions, oil change, and tire change for my car. And here is when I decided I wanted the tape to be brown, but I forgot that when I go over something I previously stamped out, then the black ink just mixes with whatever color I'm trying to put over it. In hindsight, I thought I was helping myself by stamping out all of my headers ahead of time, but now I can't color over any of the tapes I doodled in. I fixed this pretty easily using some leftover doc grid paper and just cutting it down to size and restamping the header. But yeah, I'm really sad I have to leave the tape blank and boring on this spread and some other spreads later on. It's a bummer, but it is what it is. I'm too lazy to glue dot grid paper over them all and redo them, so it's just going to stay this way. So after adding in some extra gray highlights, that is my adulting trackers complete, and we're going to head over to my media and content lists. Over here we have another pegboard themed layout, and on the left I have two larger papers that are titled movies and shows. This will be for the new movies and shows I want to watch, whether someone recommends it to me or I see it advertised somewhere, and this isn't to be confused with the movies and shows I actually watched in 2025. If I watch something on this list, I'll check it off, but I won't write every single thing I watched this year in this section. On the right, I have some smaller papers titled theme ideas and video ideas. I posted a video of myself flipping through yearly spreads in my bullet journals last year, and I'll have that linked in the cards if you're interested. But looking back, I remembered I used to have a list of themes I want to do in my bullet journal, so I wanted to start doing that again just because I went through a journal burnout basically the entirety of 2024, and I thought a theme ideas list would help me out a little bit for the new year. At the bottom, I will be writing any video ideas that I have for YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok for this year, and if you have any video ideas for me, please leave them in the comments on this video and I'll add it to my list. I've been wanting to do cozy hobby vlogs for forever, so I'm hoping to gain the courage this year to do 1 or 2 vlogs, and I also want to do a week in my bullet journal video where I share how I fill out my journals every day for a whole week. But that is this spread complete. Now we're going to set up my vision board for 2025, and this is always a favorite of mine to set up each year. Whenever I do a collage in my bullet journal, I always get questions about my printing process, so I thought I'd share some of the FAQs that I get about printing my collage images in this video. First of all, I do not print these pictures out on a home printer. I work at a print shop, so these are professionally printed on a huge toner printer, which is why the images look a little glossy. I'll have the printer on the screen here that we use, but it's definitely not something you can buy and keep at your house. It's ginormous. I also don't have any printer recommendations for home printers, unfortunately. I have two at home and they're both miserable to deal with. I do have a recommendation for label paper though, and I'll have the label paper sheets I print on in the description box of this video. I just get them from Amazon, but I think they work great for collage images because I don't have to glue all of them down like I would if I were to print them out on regular copy paper. I just peel off the back of the sheet and stick it to my journal, quick and easy. I find all of my collage images on Pinterest, so I just make a board specific to the collage images I want to make, in this case my vision board, and I'll add in photos related to the goals I want to accomplish in the new year, or any other filler photos, text, and backgrounds that I think look cohesive with the aesthetic I'm going for. So for my vision board this year, I looked up images that had to do with me wanting to read Throne of Glass and Crescent City, which are two series by Sarah J. Maas, a vlog camera for my aspiration to do cozy hobby vlogs, some crochet wearables because I want to crochet at least one functional item this year. I do a lot of plushies, but I want to actually be able to like wear or use one of my crochet projects. I've also got 27 balloons because I'm turning 27 this year, and a Chase lounge chair because I want one of these so bad in my apartment. I just have no idea where to put it, but I think they're so comfy and I want to be able to like put it by my bookshelf and read some books with like some moody lighting. That is my dream for my apartment in 2025. Those are just a couple things I want to accomplish this year. And if you're making your own vision board, I would highly recommend writing down all of your goals first before searching for images to use. This process can get really overwhelming if you don't know what you should be searching for, or if you're looking at other people's vision boards and their goals don't exactly align with yours. So yeah, make a written list of your goals for the year before anything else. I think that's super important. Once I find all my images that I want to use in my vision board, I save them all to my computer desktop and I drag them into Google Slides. You can also use Word, PowerPoint, Photoshop, Illustrator, whatever you're comfortable with. I think the most important thing is to make sure the sheet size of your document is 8.5 by 11, which is like your standard copy paper size, at least it is in the US. Because if you go through all that work sizing and putting your photos in a layout, you want to make sure they're actually going to print at the sheet size you intended. I have visuals of my Google Slides collage image layout process in another video, as well as going over more printing and collaging things, so I will have that linked in the cards if you have any other questions. So yeah, I hope my rambling and answering of questions was helpful to you, and that is my vision board spread complete. Now we are going to move on to the last couple spreads in this setup, which have to do with my themes doodles for the first half of 2025, as well as my planning pages. This is a spread I make every year in the beginning of my bullet journal. I do different themes in my plan with me's for each month, and I like to document them here with a little doodle in each box that corresponds with which theme I do each month. It looks boring and blank right now, but I love how it looks when I fill up my journal and have each monthly theme to look back on one spread. And now for the final spreads of this bullet journal setup, these are my planning pages. Going along with documenting little doodles for each theme over on the left, this layout is for prepping the themes before I actually start filming and penning everything in for each month. So this is my space to plan color palettes, washi tape if I plan to use any in my monthly spreads, as well as header styles. I got this idea originally from Jess from Jashi Curran, who is one of my favorite bullet journalists ever, and I've been using this spread for theme planning ever since because it makes my life so much easier. I'm only showing myself penning in the layout for January and February, but you'll be able to see March, April, May, and June later on that I made off camera. And after stamping in all the headers, that is my last spread of the setup complete, and it's time to get into the final flip through of all the spreads I created today. We are now entering the final flip through portion of today's video, and I want to encourage you all to comment down below how many journals are you using for the year of 2025. And please also comment down below a journal emoji if you made it to the end of this video. I truly appreciate you all, and thank you so much for watching my 2025 bullet journal setup. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe while you're here. Also, don't forget to check out my bullet journal social medias. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!